5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And it's live.
This is Leicester Till I Die TV. Watch and subscribe on YouTube and listen on your podcast platform.
Oh, look at me. Hang on. Let me just take a Viagra. There I am. How is everybody doing? It's Monday after the weekend of hell, wasn't it? I mean, I'm old. I have been supporting Leicester I don't know how long, and that has to be the most inept performance I have ever seen. We said that we would hope that they would go out and put a performance on for the new boss who was sat in the stands. They did. It just happened to be a shit performance. You've got professional footballers here who are on minimum probably 50 grand a week. They can't even fucking pass the ball to each other. I mean, can we please employ players that aren't colourblind so they know which strip we are playing, which colour we are playing in? Nobody out of that came out with any. I mean, if Rude looks at that and doesn't realise what a job he's got on his hands. I mean, I saw him. He was sat next to Top. I don't know if anybody else saw it, but Top was actually handcuffing him to the chair so that he couldn't get out and get on the plane back to Holland. And I saw poor old John Rudkin with his briefcase on his lap, obviously looking through his paperwork to check that we'd actually got Rude's signature. Because if he hadn't signed it, I would have been out on that plane and back off to Holland. It was a load of shite. Anyway, good evening. How are we all? Hello. Welcome along. This is LTID TV from Leicester Till I Die. Thank you for joining us and live on YouTube. Get your comments in. We're going to go through all the matches. So join in your comments at each match as we go through. If you're watching on comments, add your details below. And if you're listening via your favourite podcast platform, please, thank you for lending us your ears, is all I can say. It is the weekend roundup. I'm going to be joined by, what can I say? Beauty and the Beast. You work out who's who. This is the weekend review, and this is, LTID TV. This is Beauty and the Beast. Let's start off with Beauty. Good evening, Tom. How are you?
I'm doing very well, Chris. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm very well. She's going to hit me one day if we ever meet. Kate, she's got this list as long as anything that she's going to hit me for. Kate, you are, of course, the Beauty. How are you? Have you recovered?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. How are you doing?
I'm not.
Have you calmed down?
No, I haven't, to be honest with you. I just think it was pathetic, absolutely pathetic. I mean, I think the best thing Top could do is give a refund to everybody that paid money to go and watch that and travel down. And don't bother with a bloody bacon sandwich on the next trip or anything like that. Just give everybody their money back. It was absolutely disgusting. Unless, of course, you two disagree with me.
No, I don't disagree with you.
No.
Right, hang on. I've got a new diary. Let me just put that
Remember
in.
the day.
Remember the day. Kate, go. I mean, you messaged me going you were trying to find a stream to watch it on, and I didn't see that until about half time, and I said, "Don't bother, it's a load of shite."
I got my stream, and I missed our goal. So my stream was just in time to see the 4 goals against us. So I totally missed the best part.
We scored first, and you were mentioning this before, weren't you? We scored first, which obviously we poked the bear, didn't we?
No, I don't think I would not say Brentford was the bear. I think it didn't make Brentford look amazing on Saturday. It made us just look really, really poor. What happened was, I was just speaking offline to Tom, is that I was really disappointed and concerned that when we went into an unexpected lead, which we've not really done this season at all, let alone away, we had no ability to know what to do with the lead once we had it. And that was almost like the catalyst of what made us fall apart a little bit. We had no idea how to shore the defence up, how to protect the 1-0 lead. I'm not saying park the bus. I just mean the in-game management of the players to react to scoring first was so poor.
Do you think that was Ben Dawson's half-time team talk, Tom? I'm not annoyed. I'm not angry. I'm just very disappointed with you all. I mean, look, Ben Dawson isn't a manager, isn't a sort of first-team coach. He was given a hot potato, wasn't he, really?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, it was always going to be difficult. He was quite brave in changing up the formation, really, I felt as well, because maybe he was seeing this could happen. And unfortunately, he walked right into it anyway, which can always be a problem if you're changing up back lines like this as well. Yes, it was very disappointing, wasn't it? The good thing about this is, Ruud did say today in his press conference, he's quite pragmatic. He needs to start with a strong defence in all of his teams, which where we are right now is exactly where we need to start. We just start right at the back. Ironically, our goalkeeper's okay. We just need to start that defence and then move forward from there now, Chris.
But, Tom, it doesn't matter how good the goalkeeper is. If the 3, 4, 5 players in front of them are absolutely shite, it's not going to make any difference, is it?
No, this is true. This is true. I mean, we're going to have to, no doubt, make a few difficult decisions come January, because there's players like Pfizer who've been here a little while now who don't really look like they particularly want to be here either, which I think is now creeping in as part of the problem. Yeah, so I think that's something that's got to be dealt with. We've got a lad Nelson, haven't we, out at Oxford United at the moment.
He's injured now. He's out.
He's injured now.
For the season. Yeah, he's come
that's
back.
a shame, because I was hearing he was doing well. Because I was thinking we're going to have to look in the academy.
We've got Suter, of course.
Yeah, he's a bit slow, isn't he? But then again, we've got Vestergaard as well, so maybe pace.
He'll fit in nicely.
He will with Vestergaard, won't he? I mean, that's my biggest complaint about Vestergaard. I think technically he's fine, but he's just too slow for the Premier League, especially at the top level of it. So, I mean, yeah, it's an option, isn't it? But these are the questions that have got to be asked, Chris, haven't they? We've got to start on this back four and build from there now and see what we can do with this side.
Any team's got to be built on a good defence. And Kate, I was going to say that, and Tom made a very, very good point. Do we give Ben Dawson some credit? I mean, you remember when we sacked Brendan Rodgers? Adam, whoever it was, I can't even remember his name, that came in, that took over, basically just took everything that Brendan Rodgers had been doing, formation, tactics, players, and did exactly the same. And hey-ho, we lost. Should we at least give him some credit for trying to change things up a little bit?
I think he just deserves credit anyway, because he was completely thrust into a disaster zone in the space of a few days, and how he had to face the press. He was given responsibility that he didn't ask for. It's probably not his area of expertise, and he probably just let the players sort it out between themselves a bit, really. That was kind of what I thought. The only thing I didn't agree with him on is picking Luke Thomas. I don't really understand why that happened. But yeah, he deserves an enormous amount of credit for stepping into the breach, really, and taking the flak, because it was a difficult situation. He probably couldn't reveal too much in the press conference, obviously, and you kind of were just hoping that things would be sorted before Saturday, but it didn't turn out that way.
He didn't really have a lot of time anyway. If he had sort of got involved, he couldn't really have done much, I guess. I mean, Tom, I forgot what the question I was going to ask you now is. I'm just going through my mind. I mean, you've got two awards coming up, the good award and a bad award, not just for Leicester, for anybody during the week. And we went through our player ratings. And if you haven't seen it yet, do get onto LTID TV 1, and it's called How Bad Are We? You can't miss it. It's there at the start with a big poo on it. But we had after post match, we picked our donkey. We normally pick a man of the match. We struggled with that one, so we went for a donkey. Brad went for Cody. He doesn't like a bit of Cody, Brad. Okay. Jim and me both went for Ndidi, and Gray went for Thomas. No, but in fairness, even Mads really didn't cover himself in glory, did he? There wasn't one player there. And you're thinking, if they cannot at least make an effort when your new boss is sat in the stands. I mean, look, we've all had jobs. We've probably all had new bosses. And I've made sure that when the new boss starts, that my call rates are up to where they should be. I put a little bit of effort in for that week, and then I normally drop down to my normal self. But you do, I mean, do they want to be there? What are we paying them for?
Well, I'll give you a quick comparison, a little bit of a pre-spoiler for later on's potential award winner. And as you compare it briefly to the Man United game this weekend, Man United didn't play particularly brilliant against Everton either, but they had a new manager in the dugout, and they had a player called Amad Diallo who went on an absolute tear and decided he was going to show what he was about in that game. And he pretty much single-handedly wins them the game. I know we'll get to that game later, but my point is, it's exactly the same situation Leicester are facing this weekend. And I didn't see anyone particularly, maybe apart from a bit of Binotte and Vardy at the start, really step up and go, I really want to show I want to be in this team. And that's concerning to me. I mean, that shows the foundational problems we've got are pretty heavy, Chris, you know?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it is the defence. Let's look at the defence first of all. You've got James Justin just isn't working on the right, is it? And when you put him and FaZe together, it's like, I can't think of anything that's as bad as those two. Well, exactly. At least the Juggles could pass to me, to you, to me, to you. Them two can't bloody do that, can they? I mean, I think 2 of the 4 goals that most of them came down that right-hand side, and 2 of them, literally, there was a gap between FaZe and Justin, and their striker went, thank you very much, I'm going through there.
Yeah, I mean, the right-hand side has been such an issue all season, and I personally don't think James Justin is that bad on the right. I just think there's been a massive mismanagement of that part of the pitch. Using Justin to bomb on when we're in possession has been suicidal at times. It's been an absolute car crash to watch, and it's just been the same thing on repeat, and nothing is done with the formation or in possession game management to kind of phase that mistake out each and every time. And that was the problem, particularly for the first goal. You just saw Justin and Fast just fall apart, basically. There was a few instances where you're watching the goals as well, like you're thinking, where's Fast? And he's kind of jogging up out of position, like you can see his hair flowing in the wind. I don't know whether he gets bored and he just wants to go for a bit of a walkabout. I don't know what happens, but it's catastrophic, that right-hand side. But we know Justin's good, is what my point is. We know he's a good player. We know he can play both sides. He did that for Enzo last year as well at times. And he just seems really exasperated with what's going on. And I think he just needs a bit of time out, maybe from that position, or maybe just a bit of time out from the team, really, because he's looking a bit low in confidence and a bit almost angry, and that can really affect your emotion while you're playing, which can lead to mistakes.
Tom, let's look at about FaZe. I posted this over the weekend. He'd made 0 tackles in that game. Yep. He is your defender. He is a Belgium international. I made the comment during the match that you could have put a traffic cone in his place and that would have stopped more balls than FaZe did.
He wouldn't have wanted. Not got legs.
he got absolutely savaged by the Belgian press for his performances during the international break. So it's not just for us. This is his third season, I believe, now with us. His first season we got relegated. Not saying it was all his fault, of course. What is that man still doing at our club?
Well, part of the problem is, Chris, you've got to have someone who wants to buy him.
Yeah, but you get to the point where you say, pay him off.
Well, no, because we spent a lot of money on him. I mean, we're going to have to work with him. I mean, realistically, this is the FFP part of it as well. The difficulty is we're not a club that's in a position, as any club is nowadays, to just tear up, the whole sheet and start again in a new season and go spend £200 million. So we're going to have to phase it. We're going to have to stage it.
Yeah.
And Price, unfortunately, with that, is probably one of the mid to topper options in centre back. He's not the best. He's not great. He's a 6 out of 10 all the time. And like you say, I think he was more interested in the game on in Saturday to make himself look like he was in all the right places doing all the right things. But he didn't really actually overstep beyond that or actually do anything of any note, like you say. So it's a bit frustrating with him, isn't it?
You can't. No, I don't mean this isn't a pun, but how can you defend a defender that makes no tackles in a game, Kate? How can you? I mean, like I say, I like the traffic cone, but stick Hamza in there. At least he'll get stuck in. Oh, it might give a penalty away.
Give a red card away in 2 minutes, mate.
Yeah, but at least he would make an effort.
Yeah, I mean, Hamza at centre back is not the answer at all. But in a two,
surely though, and sorry to interrupt, but surely anybody, I'd put me at centre back.
Realistically,
Wolves did this with the Mina over the weekend, Chris. It didn't work out very well for them putting him at centre back. We'll get to that game later. Sorry to interrupt. You guys carry on.
But yeah, in a two, you probably want to be going for Vestergaard and Akoli, or Cody and Akoli, or Cody and Vestergaard. You want to. The back three didn't work, and it was fairly obvious early on that it didn't work. And if I was Ben, I'd have changed that, particularly at half time, because we were just getting battered. We got absolutely battered. And I don't really know. It's a bit like the Ndidi thing. For some reason, Fass and Ndidi are undroppable, and I don't understand why. It's absolutely mind-boggling as to why they aren't dropped, because we do have replacements in the wings in a like-for-like position that do better than they are doing. And well, as we know, Fass isn't a bad player, or he's done well for us on many occasions. He's a poor man's Soyuncu for sure, but maybe he just needs a bit of time out as well to regroup, know that his place isn't guaranteed every week, and to just have a bit of a firm word with himself, really. I mean, he might be flying the flag for Belgium in that he thinks he's the bee's knees because he can get in for Belgium, and he was a bit cocky about that during the summer when they went to the Euros and potentially the open transfer window. And if he doesn't get picked for Leicester, he won't get picked for Belgium. So, if that's the hill he wants to die on, then I'd try it out.
I mean, as I say, I would argue that we haven't got anybody better. I mean, I would bring Suter back. I don't think he ever had a bad game for us. Not that he had many. Not the fastest, I must agree, but stick him in the Australian side and he scores a goal virtually every game. Thoughts on Cody, Tom?
Yeah, he didn't really do a lot. I mean, he talks a good game, doesn't he? But is he, with all due respect, maybe slightly past it? And I don't mean that to be mean to the bloke. He could probably be a very decent championship defender. But this is part of the problem I'm coming away from this weekend from, Chris. I'm looking at the side and going, there's a rebuild that we're hopefully going to be starting now. Is the problem so bad that irrelevant of what Ruud does, is this team going down? That is something which is a big concern of mine now, because you look around you and at least Southampton fight, Ipswich fight, and you think they don't seem to want to fight. And the year we went down, I think that was the reason, because even Maddison himself said we didn't work hard enough.
I mean, do you think, Tom, I'll stick with you for this because you mentioned it, are we looking at championship players here and no better?
I think in some ways they've been a bit conditioned by the championship into a point where they think they're better than what they are. There's names on the paper which, if you historically look back at, you can go, that team in theory is a Brentford or a Bournemouth, but maybe we are slightly past it now. Maybe it has been a couple of years. So yeah, I think you're right. We've seen regression. This started under Rodgers, though. A lot of players like Ndidi started regressing under Rodgers quite hideously, very quickly. They just sort of fell off a cliff. So Inchu had the same, didn't he, as well? So I think that's the interesting thing. We need to hope this is the end of the decline now, that we can start from here. But the worry is the problem might be too gone. So I think you're right, Chris. It might be a case of we are a championship squad in the Premier League.
Okay, when we got relegated to the third tier under Ian Holloway, and we know Ian Holloway's all right, he's no Alex Ferguson, but he's no Peter Taylor. He got Blackpool into the Premier League, and I think anybody who would come into that squad at that time, don't think would have kept us afloat. Pearson came in and literally he just tore the sheet up, didn't he? And started again. Is that what we need Rude to do?
Yeah, I think so. And the example that you use there, though, is really different because it's massively out of the spotlight of the Premier League. Pearson came in when no one was really looking at Leicester, whereas you feel like now, which is perhaps what has forced Tops' hand a little bit. The EFL and Premier League are after us. Everyone's kind of looking at us from the outside thinking, what the hell is going on at this football club? And I even heard Martin O'Neill call us entitled the other day, which I thought was bang out of order, to be honest. Yeah. I thought that was really quite...
It went down in my esteem, to be honest.
We're not entitled. We're not entitled. We are entitled to fight and want to be in the Premier League and want to do our best to retain that position. But with Rude, he's got a challenge ahead of him because all eyes are going to be on him because of him. He's just such a prolific name in the Premier League. Everybody's looking at Leicester thinking they're above their station. And there's a lot of rumours going around that it's player power. And I don't think it's that. I don't think the players have performed particularly well and they've not necessarily done themselves a great service this year. But similarly, the culture at Leicester is good and we know it's good. Though there's some moments that if Tops had to come in and give them a dressing down, then that's the first time in probably his tenure that he's had to do that. And sometimes things just go a bit astray. People get a bit frustrated. The usual stuff gets thrown out the window because of a poor manager, which we had in Steve Cooper. So it's Rude coming into a very unstable football environment. But yeah, I think he'll have to start over again. But his press conference was really encouraging to hear today. He said he's going to look at every single player, take them all on merit. And I hope that includes the academy stuff as well. I saw on one of the Leicester Instagram posts yesterday that Alves was there training with him yesterday. So you just want... Well, it's time for some of these youngsters to come through. We need a bit of a fresh don't we?
Yeah. Thanks to Doug there. I'd had forgotten, but it is the FA Cup draw for round 3. It looks like we are at home to Queen's Park Rangers, who are currently 23rd in the Championship. 2 wins, 9 draws, 7 losses. That's us out the cup then, isn't it, Tom?
I was quite glad we didn't get Walsall again after the League Cup this year, to be honest. And I was getting flashbacks. We'll get someone like Walsall or Burton Albion, and we really could be...
It's all right. Danny Ward will come on and save us.
Oh, my word, dearie me. But that's it, isn't it? Danny Ward will probably play, so you're right. The draw's irrelevant, Chris.
The thing is, talking about players coming on and saving us, I'm not going to lie, and hi, Nate, how you doing? I'm not going to lie. I lost it during the watch-along. On more than one occasion, I have to say, the language was a little bit choice. However, I jumped up with celebration, and I'm just going to check what minute it was. Here we go. In the 79th minute, wow, Dakova Reed came on. Wow, I mean, great. That was going to save the match for us, wasn't it? He was going to come on and score a double hat-trick and everything would have been fine. We'd have been smelling of roses and not shit. I mean, God almighty, is that who we're bringing on to try and save the match? God help us.
Yeah, it's quite worrying, isn't it? But like you say, the good news is Will Alves apparently is up there in training as well. So hopefully, and Ruud, of course, is a man who managed PSV's academy, didn't he, in the second division of Holland? So he's obviously someone that likes a good academy. Dutch managers, generally do like a good academy. Look at Ajax in the past as well. Hopefully, Chris, this will be leaning into what the setup and the facilities we've got, are suited for. And hopefully we'll see one or two of these players come in. And don't get me wrong, it's going to give us some more ammunition towards Steve Cooper, even though he's now gone. But if Alves comes in, for example, and does really well, that's what we're kind of hoping for, aren't we?
Yeah, and that's the thing, isn't it, Kate? I mean, look, I'm not Dakova Reed's greatest fan. I think I gave him a D- out of sympathy because he hasn't been on the pitch much. But, we'll talk about, they've got this fantastic training facility, the academy, and Steve Cooper, he won the World Cup with the under-17s. He's brilliant. Look, if Wayne Rooney had been at Leicester, he wouldn't have broken into the first team squad at this age, would he?
No, I mean, it's difficult to know what goes on and why Will Alves and those kind of players have been overlooked so far. I'd love to know the reasons for that. I feel like it sums up Leicester a bit, really, in our play on and off the field, even with some of Enzo's strategy last year. Sometimes to make progress, you've just got to take a risk.
Yes.
It's calculated, but it's still a risk. But that's pretty much how every goal is scored, is because you've took a risk to get through the lines.
Yeah.
And I'd just like to see Leicester, the Leicester of old used to do that.
But that first goal, Kate, that we scored, it's probably our only decent move of the match. But it really got me excited, thinking, well, if this is the way we're going to play all game. But do you think, actually, what we witnessed may not be a bad thing? Because Rude has seen us now, warts and all. He's seen how shit we are, and he knows what the task is. If we'd have gone out, maybe the result had been the other way, 4-1 to Leicester, he would have probably thought, well, I haven't got much to do here, just 1 or 2 tweets. So, it's when that, when that Rolls Royce comes into the garage and they lift the bonnet and there's a mini engine inside it, at least he knows the size of the job, Kate.
Yeah, I mean, he would have probably looked at videos anyway. But yeah, he'll have seen some positives in that performance as well. Like going forward, we do look okay, but we just don't do it often enough. We're not front-footed enough. We can't keep the ball in the middle of the park often enough because of Wilfred and Ndidi, which means there's a massive disconnect between the front and the back. And then that as such, there's no safe pair of hands to help out Fass and JJ in those situations. It's often Branagh not that drops in to help JJ, or Ayew might have trapped back. They're not your safe pair of hands if you need to offload the ball when you're defending. Winks is obviously usually there, but Winks hasn't got an outlet himself. If Fass passes to Winks and Winks is stuck or struggling to pass forward, he doesn't really want to pass back to Fass, does he? No. There's no sort of safe pair of hands or a partnership that's been allowed to develop in that regard. Like Winks and Skip were broken up. Winks and Ndidi don't work. It all needs revisited, and I believe a lot of it is just doing the basics right and having some really basic drills and discipline that you'd probably think you'd be teaching under 12s, but that's what's needed. And I think if you can get that right, the progress will be quite quick.
Tom, do you think we're going to expect, and we'll move on in a second, but do you think we're going to expect too much tomorrow? He's had literally 2 days, maybe an hour or two tomorrow with the team before we take on West Ham, who, let's face it, didn't have the best game themselves, and we'll come on to that later, losing 5-2, which probably means it'll be 0-0 tomorrow. But are we expecting too much? Or, are we going to accept that, well, look, we'll take a point if, even if we lose, we have to accept
I think in the circumstances of West Ham, I mean, don't get me wrong, like, it's unlikely, I think, we win. I think a draw is probably a likelier result. But I will say this, and that is that he's had a few days of them now. Positivity, a bit of defensive shape, trying to actually score goals in a positive manner. And before you know it, we could have a couple of goals be 2-0 up and things will be looking a lot more rosier. So I think it's a game which we really need to take advantage of, irrelevant of how quickly it's come. I'll be disappointed if we don't win. I know that sounds a bit crazy and perhaps I'm entitled to say that, but I just think we need to hopefully have an uplift, and West Ham are just there for the taking. If we're West Ham's uplift, that's really concerning for us.
Well, I did a preview yesterday, and I've got with Rob from the West Ham massive, and I've actually lost his predictions, but I think he went for a draw. He thought 1-1 or 2-2.
I go 3-1 Leicester. I think Leicester should win it 3-1.
Would you? Well, I went 3-1, funnily enough.
Yeah.
What about yourself, Kate? I mean, and I'll let you go after this because I know you can't stay, and thank you for coming on. What's Rude's priority for tomorrow?
Clean sheet. Clean sheet.
Comment.
Yeah.
I don't think it will happen, but that's got to be the first port of call, really. Unless we want to play Kevin Keegan style football, which I'm not against, to be honest, because this passing out of the back bullshit is getting boring.
It's entertaining, let's be honest with you, isn't it?
I watched the it's called the Big Classic Match or something on ITV4, I think, on a Saturday morning, and at the weekend it was Wednesday Forest, and it was Leicester versus Newcastle in 1986. It's absolutely brilliant. I flipping loved it.
I bet your loyalties were divided, weren't they?
Yeah, they were. But yeah, I think clean sheet's going to be up there. Just organisation and accountability and that awareness of danger. I mean, there is none of that at the moment. Just start from the ground, do the basics, and give some players some belief. We can do it tomorrow. We can absolutely do it tomorrow.
Yeah. Are you going?
I am, yeah.
Brilliant. So I look forward to your team reaction via video, and obviously we'll chat afterwards.
Ruben Vardy up front. He's going to be player manager. That's his big surprise.
Bloody, I'd sooner have him on the bloody Dakova Reed. Jesus Christ.
Rude scores 11 consecutive games to start his Leicester managerial career.
Oh, imagine.
11 in a row. Imagine.
Oh, you two watched it, I believe, didn't you? So because I think when Dakova Reed ran onto the pitch, that he didn't actually stop and he just ran off the other side and sat in the stands and watched the game. I remember him staying on the pitch, but I jest, obviously. Kate, thank you very, very much for sparing the time. I know it's a busy night for you, so appreciate you coming on, and we will chat tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Will do. See you later. See you later, guys.
Take care. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Right, let's do this, and we will move on, Tom. And I've got to say, I've got to press the right button. That's what I've got to say. Look at that, seamless. You wouldn't know. You
Professional.
Wouldn't know. I thought so. I've been called worse. Here we go. So let me just bring that the starred comment up again. There we go. So that's what we're doing. We'll have a little quick finish off Brentford Leicester. Then the match that you watched, Liverpool Manchester City. Yeah. And then the two, and I've got to load this up while you're talking at some point, the two fan video shows. I couldn't have picked games. I couldn't have picked two worse ones, both ending up 1-1 draws.
Oh, well, you got to have a go.
I had Arsenal last week. I could have had Arsenal this week. But thanks to the people that did those videos for us. Look, it is onwards and upwards, isn't it? And I have said, look, I've criticised the players, and this is why I wanted to do that show yesterday. And like I say, if you have missed it, everybody, just go LTID TV and just have a look for that. You can't miss it. It sticks out like a pimple in the sand there. You can see it. That's what you look for. How bad are this Leicester squad? Like I say, we literally go through it top to bottom. A, B, C, D. We've got pluses, minuses, and we've got U's as well in there. There's quite a lot of U's, believe it or not. But the reason I wanted to do that is, and I do honestly think we give all the players a clean sheet, a clean start. Yeah. And I know I joked on Saturday, that indeed he should be taken out, and I don't mean out of the squad. I mean just taken out. Somebody go after him with a shotgun.
Bless you.
If they do now, I'll have the police on to me, won't I? But I was joking. But when we start, Now, honestly, Gov, I was joking.
I'm sure you dig your hole, Chris. You carry on, my friend.
It is getting a rather large hole down here. We have to say to everybody, it's a clean sweep. It's a start. Because, we'd written Vestergaard off. We'd written Ndidi off as well, both of those before Enzo came in, and he turned them both into primetime messes. So we've got to say, we start from scratch. So that's why I wanted to do that review. So what we can do is go back at the end of the season and say, has Rude actually improved? If Vardy, who was one of the few A's in the team, to be honest, obviously got to give him an A, haven't you? Because he always puts the effort in. But if he then suddenly goes down to D, we're going, hang on, what's happening here? Do you know what I mean? So that's why we did it. So that would be interesting to go back at the end of the season and compare. But we were honest, like I say, I did refuse Brad. I must try and clip it and put it up. I did refuse him to give a U star or U plus to Cover Reed. I was very angry when he gave him the.
There's no such thing as a U plus. You've got a U. You've pretty much failed. You have failed.
Well,
so,
Well, I went to U minus because I couldn't go any lower, basically. But look, we'll go through them. But these are the games. So we're going to go Liverpool, Man City in a second, which was the game you watched. And then the two draws at the top there, Brighton, Southampton and Palace, Newcastle. Two teams there. And I went for those because two teams that are obviously around us at the bottom. Forest, Ipswich, that was a tight game. Wolves, I don't know what they've got to do to win a game, bless them. They score the goals. Every time they say Kevin Keegan football, we'll go up and get two, but we'll let four in at the back. West Ham just capitulated in that first half, and the only solace they got was the fact that the second half was 0-0. Villa seemed to be on a downward spiral as well. Everton, well, I don't, that must have been a dream game for Amorim to have as his first home game. And then obviously Spurs Fulham playing out as well. But I did say to you that I would like you to watch, which was going to be the last game of the weekend, Liverpool 2, Manchester City 0. Is that 6 games without a win now for Pep?
It's a lot, isn't it? It's adding up very quickly. The weeks are rolling by. And it was boys and men. I mean, everything we think about Liverpool, that they are doing it. They're doing it. I mean, they beat Real Madrid and Manchester City in the same week this week and look comfortable in both of them. But it's interesting, Man City, isn't it? Because if it was a wobble, it's now looking like the little crack in the floor is becoming the Grand Canyon and things are falling in. And De Bruyne didn't look very happy. Pep didn't look very happy. Yeah, there's something going on, Chris, I wonder now.
But he signed a new 1-year contract, so you think, well, maybe it's not that bad behind the scenes.
Well, it's interesting because there's a lot more player power nowadays because of the money involved in their contracts, isn't there?
Yes.
So obviously with De Bruyne being out of contract in the summer as well, and decisions being made, similar to Liverpool, across the other side of the pitch on this occasion with Salah, I think then it can cause some more interesting challenges for managers. It wouldn't surprise me if there was a decision to back the manager over decisions because he had it with Yaya Toure before. Don't forget, he fell out with Yaya Toure, he fell out with so and so. It doesn't life doesn't always go in a way where you start as friends and ends as friends. And I wonder if their relationship's a bit strained. He's had a strained relationship with the Belgian national team as well, which doesn't help. And you do wonder if that's kind of caused this problem, maybe. But it is speculation, Chris. It's noise.
They've got who's the midfielder that's very influential that's out for Man City?
Rodri, Ballon d'Or winner.
He's not. Yes, yeah, he's not. That missing one player doesn't lead to this sort of fall away, does it?
No, well, and also it shouldn't. More bigger than that, it shouldn't. I did write in my notes for the first time. I looked at Man City and went, I wonder if they've run out of quality. Maybe the signings they've made haven't been as good as they have in the past. Maybe that is the problem. They haven't quite got up to speed, and they've relied on a few younger players coming through as well. They've bailed on people like Phillips, who's gone off on loan, and they've ended up in a situation where they're just quite unbalanced at this time. And like you say, it's all because Rodri's not there. If Rodri was there, would it be winning every week? I don't believe it would. I still think they wouldn't be right up there, but I think they'd have drawn a few of these games and not lost them, and maybe won one.
One of my friends is a Liverpool fan, and he messaged me Sunday night after the game, and he went, "I'm starting to count my chickens."
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Yeah, they're superb. They're superb. I mean, they beat Real Madrid and Liverpool in a week, like I said. I said they're going to win something this year when I first came on this program, 4 or 5 weeks ago. And now I'm looking at it going, could they win a treble? Could they? I mean, they could. I mean, that's the great thing about football. The opportunity is there, isn't it, Chris?
The quadruple is on. I mean, it would be. I'd love somebody like Liverpool to do it and not Manchester City. If everybody ever did the quadruple. But I'm looking at this here. 9 points. They are clear of Arsenal. So you need Liverpool to lose 3 games.
Yeah.
If you're talking how far, 11 points to Manchester City. That's the problem. That gap is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And suddenly you do start to doubt yourself. I mean, do you think with Man City, the fact that they are the FA's finally got off its arse and put, going after them for these 115, breaches. Yeah. I mean, do you think why they've maybe thought, oh shit, we might have to watch the spending now? Or this is the sort of club that would just go and buy itself out of trouble, isn't it?
Yeah, they're obviously under the microscope, so always had to be a little bit more careful. Which is interesting, the timely announcement of Pep extending, because it suggests to me they've had a war room meeting and gone, we're in the trenches together, which suggests to me the changes that are going to come, which are going to be needed at Man City, because this is ultimately it's showing them that team is now done. He needs to build a new team. And the time is now. I mean, Haaland will lead the line fantastically. He's having a funny one, but he's probably not getting the service he's quite used to with Rodri not being there. And, so they got to think about it that way, really. So, they probably do need a rebuild. And he's probably had a year extra there, just being quite fortunate about having major injuries. And quickly go back to Liverpool. That's the thing they haven't had either. They've not faced an injury situation yet. No. Still lots of games coming. If they lost Van Dijk at this point or Salah, then the questions will be asked, and that could open the door for someone else to come back into it.
Yeah.
But then they have got quality in Curtis Jones. Gakpo steps up in times, doesn't he? And that's been the difference really between the two teams. Gakpo will step up, this person will step up, Szoboszlai will step up. Man City are needing players to step up who aren't currently able to do it, like Savinho.
At least Liverpool have got a Cody that plays well.
Well, yes, exactly. Well said, well said. Ours is a Scouser.
Yes, thank you. I'm looking at that, and I know we keep saying, well, it's early yet. It isn't. If Liverpool end the year, bless you, and let's be honest with you, December's the busiest month, 6 games. But if they can end the year still 9 points clear, I would almost be tempted to say it's probably Liverpool's to lose.
Yeah, I would as well. Yeah. It's that risk reward, isn't it? The longer they're in other competitions, the more risk they've got to winning one competition, isn't it? But the thing is, you've got to have faith in their academy more than Man City's academy, because they've got more players from their academy out there performing now in the moment than Man City do. So that's a bigger part of it as well. Liverpool just seem to be very good at navigating everything that's been thrown at them so far. But it's very, there is a big monster on the hill awaiting them this summer, Chris, with this Salah situation. And by all accounts, his agent's been out this week saying all sorts of he might move to another European club on a free transfer in the summer, hinting at PSG might pay for him. Liverpool are going to have to consider, do they break their wage structure to keep him? And that's a big question, isn't it? Yes. That's a very difficult one to answer, what you do.
It will be interesting to see how they react to that. And I'll tell you, before we move on, the interesting thing for me with Liverpool is it can sometimes be harder when and we always say we want the points on the board. We'd sooner be that much ahead, but when they lose, or if they lose the next game, and let's be honest with you, that Nottingham Forest game was a bit of an anomaly, wasn't it? But if they do lose the next game and then Manchester City win theirs, I know. We've also got to think of Arsenal, Chelsea, and even Brighton are in there as well. But Man City seem to be the one that, that's most likely. So if Liverpool lose the next game, then Man City win their next game, then suddenly it's 6 points.
Yeah, exactly.
You can suddenly sort of start looking over your shoulder a little bit.
Yeah, and there's also let's not to forget this. If you're a team that's winning all the time and all of a sudden you lose a game out of nowhere, it can be quite jarring. You don't know the effect that's going to happen. In some ways, that's what people were thinking was happening with Man City. They lost one game, and everyone goes, "Oh, how they react to this? Oh, not very well. They've lost again." And so it carries on. It's almost like they've got out of that habit. So that's the interesting element of it. And just the way the Premier League is this year, I just wonder if, and I said it last week, and I'll still stick by this, they're head and shoulders the best team right now, but they're still going to have a wobble. It's a natural thing that will happen to this Liverpool team. And what will matter then is how they find that extra bit they're going to need, because you need that to win the Premier League. You do.
You do. Right. Moving on then to the first of our featured games. Palace against Newcastle. It was 1-1. I'm not sure where this is going to go up, but very, very kindly, we've got Rich from Palace fan channel, Eagle Eyed Football, good friend of the channel. Looks amazingly like Lionel Richie, and he very, very kindly did this straight after the game outside the ground. So appreciate that. Let's just see. There we go.
Big up, Chris. Outside Selhurst Park, finished Palace 1, Newcastle 1, and I'm frustrated in the sense of, granted, it was a very terrible game of football. We've missed way too many chances, and the only chance that Newcastle really got was the own goal that we scored for them. Look, it's absolutely. It's a good thing, obviously, we've rescued a point in the 94th minute, but yeah, we take our chances. I think we go and maybe score, win this 2-0. Maybe 3-0. I think we finished off with like 15 or 16 shots to their one, and their one shot was obviously not on target because I don't think it registers. Look, we've got to find a way of winning games. It's the biggest issue we've had all season. But we're going into a game, a massive game now against Ipswich. But let's talk about this actual game. Let's break this down. I think we started off pretty bright, and we were able to nullify Newcastle because you could tell they want to play on the break, similar to how we wanted to play actually. And they've got a lot of pace with like Gordon Isak, so you could tell that's the angle they were trying to get at. And because we nullified that, it allowed us to push up the field a bit. I think if we sorted that off first touch in the final third in different aspects of the game, I think we would be able to create better chances than going forward. I think our final third at the moment all season's been poor, to be honest. I think Newcastle were quite threatening, obviously, with set pieces. You've got the likes of Burn. You could be, I know there was a few corners were going towards our back post and no one was picking up a runner, which was terrible. But you know what, we ended up creating like two very good chances in that first half. Ebbs, if he saw that his control, would have had a shot on goal. And the other one was Daniel Munoz missing an open goal, which was shocking, to be fair. Second half came out, it was a very flat game. Like I said, it was a poor game all around from both sides, I think. And Newcastle's well-watched free kick led to us scoring an own goal. But it's an area, once again, another area where I think we let ourselves down because it's more than once that, like a well-watched free kick, we get done by. You know, so I think we just got to wise up to it. A lot of pointing, but no, don't point. Follow a man, pick up a man, communicate, talk about it, figure it out. But look, after we scored, Newcastle sat back. We had zero ideas. We took off everything after 60 minutes, brought on our youngster Beveni. And he injected a little bit of pace, but then he then found it difficult. Control was off. All our touches was off. And then the game went really flat. And it suited Newcastle because from I think the 78th minute to the 88th minute, I don't even think we even got out of our half. And that's not because they were putting us under much pressure, but they were just winning fouls, winning corners, winning throw-ins and stuff, and we were just losing the ball from time to time. But yeah, look, managed to pump the ball into the box a couple of times, and fortunately, obviously, Danny Munoz gets a 94th minute equaliser, and seems I need to try and see this back, but Glasgow bombed down the touchline to celebrate with the Palace players. So all in all, you've got to take the point. It's disappointing we didn't get all three because of the chances we created. But now we must beat Ipswich on Tuesday. But yeah, big up Chris, is Rich from Eagle Eye Football. Out.
Thanks very much to Rich. I've got to say, whether he's outside a prison or at home with those bars on the window, I'm not sure. But
London's looking good nowadays, Chris. London's looking good.
It is. Look, he's a great guy. He's very honest and what have you. I don't know how Newcastle. I mean, they were lucky to get that point. Right, it was an own goal by Palace. But like he said, this is Newcastle. Now, Newcastle, they are sat in. Well, they're down in 11th, but they've got pretensions to try and break into the top 6. They had that one good season. Obviously, they rode on the back of the takeover, and then Eddie Howe came in, and they got to Steve Bruce, and but since then, they seem to be treading water. And in this game, for a team like Newcastle, with the hopes of being where they want to be, no shots on target in 90 minutes.
Yeah, it was a bad performance from Newcastle. It really was a step back. At the time, I felt, Chris, they were going to get better, really. But Palace dominated it. They were completely the better team. They had 16 shots or something to Newcastle's 1. Took them 94 minutes to score a goal, unfortunately, for them. But yeah, Newcastle, they're funny because one week you look at them and go, they look really, really good. Yeah. And the next week they're turning up, and then they just seem a bit average. I mean, Eddie Howe kind of said it himself. He wasn't unwise to it. He said it was no, they didn't really create a lot today, but they didn't play badly, and that's kind of true. They didn't play badly, but they didn't really offer anything, which is quite bizarre, really, because like you say, they've got ambitions, and I think the minimum effort here would be they've got to at least try and outshoot their opponents, who isn't particularly at the same level as them right now, with all due respect to Palace, of course.
And Newcastle St James's Park is not the fortress that it used to be. I know this one was away, but they can't rely on the home form like I think they used to.
No. Newcastle need to still add a bit more, I feel. It's almost like they've sort of plateaued a bit now, in a similar way to Aston Villa. And the directions these sides go in now is very dependent on the next 6 months and what they do in January. And what slight changes they perhaps make on the pitch. But it was a surprising one this for me, because I would have thought this is the game Newcastle have to mark down as 3 points for their European ambitions. But fair play to Crystal Palace, because they turned up and gave it a good go. And going back to Leicester again briefly, this has been our moan. I mean, they probably deserved to win the game and only got a point, but at least they had a go again.
Well, I was going to say, look, Crystal Palace in 17th, playing Newcastle, are now in 11th on 19. Leicester in 16th place, playing Brentford. Okay, they're in 8th. But they're only on 20 points, only one more point above Newcastle. We get stuffed 4-1 with players that couldn't give an arse. Yeah. And yet you've got Palace there giving it a go. And they're only 1 point behind us now, Palace. Wolves are only 1 point behind us. Ipswich are only 1 point behind us. These games go wrong over this week. We could be in that bottom 3 come the Brighton game at the weekend, and we ain't going to get anything out of that, I don't think. So this is why it's so. I'm so annoyed with this. What appears to be lack of interest from the players.
This is why I said tomorrow is actually a must-win game for us, almost, despite it being Root's first game. Because if you just look at the way it's unfolding, we've already dropped points that we needed to have in the bank by now. That's the problem.
And we can't keep relying on other teams to dig us out and say, okay, we lost, but Wolves didn't win, Palace didn't win. We can't keep relying on that, because 1 or 2 times they are going to win.
Yeah, exactly. For the newly promoted clubs, we're the one with the least amount of effort of all 3 of us. I mean, quality, and actually we said before we probably have more quality, and that's now into debate, because actually when you look at it, you go, we probably haven't actually, because like you say, there was a great comment from Wayne earlier about Dibbling from Southampton, and we'll get to that I'm sure later, but another good example of a young player who's really wanting to make a positive impact. And that's the thing, at least in these teams, Chris, like Crystal Palace, you're seeing Munoz, who gets the goal. He's not the best forward in the world by any means. I don't actually believe he's Premier League standard, with all due respect to the lad, but he tries and he works, and he will score goals because of that reason. And that is
Yeah.
what we're lacking, and that's what Crystal Palace had. And it's unfortunate for Palace because, like you said, they should have won.
Yeah. Next game, our second fan game. Brighton hosting Southampton. This was interesting because, of course, we've got Brighton at the weekend. Southampton are below us. Southampton, God, you've got to love them because they're not giving up, are they? I mean, the bottom, they've only got 5 points. They've only got one win. But again, I feel like the effort's being put in. This is a bit of a different review because I think this is Russell from Brighton Rock Pod, who will be on this channel Friday night when we do a review. He doesn't have a YouTube channel, but his Brighton Rock Pod is his podcast. And I think he thought that we actually wanted a season review from him. But here we go.
And a hello and very warm welcome to Chris and to all Foxes fans. Hi, it's me, Russell, from the Brighton Rock Podcast again. Glad to be chatting to you guys, doing a remote little video message thing here for you. Talking ahead of the game, of course, this Sunday as we come to your place for the big kickoff. Just talking about, first of all, the Albion this season. I'll talk about Brighton and Albion, not that other lot. Albion, we've had a great start to the season, obviously. A couple of wins at the beginning of the season, a really good draw away at Arsenal, and generally some fantastic results. Cracking the nut of one of our bogey teams, Bournemouth away, in our last away match on the road. We've also beaten Man City in the most meaningful game we've had against City. We've beaten them once before, where we came from 2 down to win 3-2 in partial return from lockdown era. And that was great, but they'd already won the title and they were down to 10 men for part of it. We've had a 1-1 draw a couple of seasons ago, which was an exceptional game of football, fantastic result, and City were fully up for it, but they had already got the title more or less in the bag at that stage, so it didn't quite feel 100% amazing, and it was only a draw rather than a win. This season we managed to get the win against them, and I know that's now, anybody seems to be able to beat Man City nowadays. That was still a fantastic result, and we were up against a good side at the time. So that was great. We were unlucky at Liverpool on the road. We've had a bunch of good results. We've won at Newcastle, and we've also beaten Spurs from a 2-0 deficit to come back to win 3-2. So we've had some good games. Fabian Hürzeler in his first season, I think, has been fantastic. What we're dealing with here is a bit of a different system, not too much, but a little bit different, a very high line. It's all about intensity, and it's a lot about counter-attacks, turnovers, fast breaks, all that sort of stuff. A little bit different to De Zerbi, who was more like on the ball, encourage the press, beat the press. There was a lot of that about the way he played. So there is a bit of a different style. It's a new manager in his first season in this country, first season managing as a senior head coach of a top flight side. We've had a turnover of some players as usual. There's always some comings and goings. There's been a lot of comings this year. Major investment, which is great, but that's a lot of new players involved. We've still got 2 or 3 people coming back from injuries, and we have, much to my chagrin, had a continuation of last season's injury issues where we had, it crippled us last year. Our position was false, finishing 11th, because we had a ridiculous injury crisis all season. At least 7 key players out all the way through the season. At worst, we had 11. Nobody really talked about it because we weren't one of the biggest clubs, so the media weren't fussed, but we really struggled last year, and of course we had the European campaign to stretch our resources even more. This season, we've still got injuries, not quite as bad so far as last season, but we've also not got a European campaign to be dealing with. So on that basis, we've been able to absorb those blows a lot more. And we've had key players out. Lewis Dunk, Carlos Baleba, James Milner, João Pedro, who provides a lot of the goals, and many more besides. I think every player who's featured in the first team this season has had some sort of injury issue at some point, even if small. So we've had a lot to deal with, and the fact that we have been in the top 4 or 5, 6 places all season, barring I think 1 week when we dropped down a bit, has been absolutely fantastic. We're still finding our way. Fabian Hürzeler has said we aren't the finished product by any means, individually or as a team. So there's a lot more to come from us. It doesn't feel as if we're playing amazing football yet, or dominating games for a whole 90 minutes. Quite often we'll have a whole half when we're not doing well. For example, the first half against City, because it's not the best version of City, they didn't crush us. They might have been 2 or 3 goals up. They were 1 up, and we came back and won with a really good second half performance. Same with Tottenham. Same with Everton, to be honest with you.
We're gonna end it there because, like I say, it was more of a season review than a review of the match. Bless him, but it's hard when he's been working all weekend and sending me on Monday to say, "Oh, it's not what we wanted." But basically, I mean, Brighton for me are this year's Aston Villa. They're sat in 4th. They've only lost 2 games all season. They're on +5. We could be looking at another European campaign for them, couldn't we?
I think we will, Chris. Yeah, they've quietly motored on back up there, haven't they? And all of a sudden, everyone's gone, wow, they were in second place at a point there this weekend. Yeah, they're really good. He's really taken to it like a duck to water. System changes and all that, but they're a very likable football team, Brighton, aren't they?
They
I think
are.
they're more likable in some ways because they run so well behind the scenes. You just think you can.
Remember when people used to say that about Leicester?
Exactly. That's exactly where I was coming from, mate. Yeah. So, it's difficult seeing it in some ways because we know how good it can be, right? But no, they were superb, and it was an odd day for them because, like the gentleman was saying, they took their foot off the pedal here for a bit, and Southampton got back into it. And this was a funny match. I'm not sure you saw the highlights, Chris, but this was heated. Like there was all sorts going on the touchline. I was getting hockey vibes with this game. I thought they were going to start punching each other at one point. It was brilliant, to be fair. Excuse me, but so Brighton off to a good one. Good point for Southampton. You know, they showed a lot of fight. Again, going back to that thing we always say, they're fighting.
They are, and fair play to them. South Coast derby, of course, that might have had something to do with the fisticuffs or whatever happened. But we'll rush through. We'll go through quickly these next games. We've got them tomorrow. What a bad first half it was for West Ham. I am surprised that I've not read that Lopetegui has been sacked.
Yeah.
I really thought he might have done by now. 2 penalties in there for Arsenal. Saka on fire. Another performance like that tomorrow night, please, West Ham.
Yeah, hopefully so. Hopefully so. I mean, Arsenal have been transformed since Martin Odegaard's come back, haven't they? Since Odegaard's come back, all of a sudden Saka's got a lot more space. Odegaard's got more space, and the team are just free scoring. I think they scored 8 goals in 2 games now. For 1-0 to the Arsenal, that is very impressive. And also been my complaint about them. So they might sneak their way back into this title picture yet. But yeah, going to West Ham, they very similar to Leicester in the first half, very lackluster, very slow, very half asleep, not really sure what they were doing, you know, and had a little spurt for like 5 minutes where they just thought we'll have a go at this, and they fought back for a couple of goals, but they lacked anything really that was any sort of threat to Arsenal. I mean, Arsenal second half, we're happy to take the 0-0, and it was easy really. So you're right, Chris. Going into us tomorrow night, we need to really have a go at this lot, because if we don't, then I think we're going to be dropping points we should be taking.
Yes, like you say, we can see they're vulnerable. But if the under Cooper, I would have felt, well, he might be thinking, bless you. We might be thinking, look, we need to be a little bit careful here. They're a rival down the bottom. Like you say, you've just got to go. Best form of defender sometimes is attack.
Absolutely.
And look, our game and their game, it had 12 goals between the 2 games. Like I say, it's probably got 0-0 written all over it, if we're honest. But look, at half-time, it's 5-2, and I was thinking, God, we got 9 away, obviously, against Southampton. It's the best ever away performance. Yeah. And I thought, Arsenal could be going for this. But, of course, they've got a game midweek.
Yeah.
They were never going to lose that from that point. So I can understand why the second half did fizzle out. Another game with lots of goals that I didn't pick. Wolves, who were down the bottom. It was our friend Paddy at Up the Cherries in all departments. Got it right if you're watching, Paddy. Look, the Gary O'Neill derby here, wasn't it? Wolves at home must have been looking on at this game with recent form of thinking, we might get something from here. I suppose this is the danger, because it appears to be that Wolves are going for it, but are being caught out. And I guess like Kate, alluded to earlier with the Kevin Keegan style football. It's great to watch for the neutral.
Yeah, I mean, Wolves really for the next 2 weeks should ban themselves from playing out from the back, because if they hadn't played out from the back in this game, I imagine they might have won it.
Really?
Yeah, seriously. Jose Sarr got dropped in it many times and then dropped himself in it many times as well. Consequently, half the goals. No, actually, well, there's 3 penalties here. Yeah, the 3 penalties were all gifted by Wolves to Bournemouth, and Bournemouth are good enough on the attack, aren't they? So it was very poor from Wolves, and the Gary O'Neill loving we've seen for the last few weeks. He was stood in the post match saying he didn't understand why they were passing the ball back in those positions, which isn't a good thing really to hear. It's good to hear that he saw how bad it was, but it's also like, well, why are they doing it?
Well, you're the manager.
Well, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, difficult for Wolves this one. It was. I think for them, it was a must-win game. Actually, I know. A draw would be a good result where Bournemouth are right now, but they needed to start getting some home wins to really start going back up the table. So credit to Bournemouth, as usual, not a pain in the arse. They press so high. They're doing what Tottenham want to do, except they're doing it better than Tottenham.
Yeah.
They're very good. They deserve all their penalties. Clive, like it says on screen, first player to score a hat-trick of penalties in a Premier League match, first time in the top flight for 67 years, which is quite remarkable when you think about it. All of them were different, Chris. He sent the keeper the wrong way every time. Bad day for Jose Sarr in goal.
Yeah, I mean, was it a dirty match? When you look at it and you go, well, 3 penalties, you immediately think must have been kicking lumps out of each other.
No, but I mentioned this earlier briefly. They put the Mina at centre back. Wolves did today, which won this game, which was interesting because obviously he's a ball-winning midfielder by trade, and he made one really good world-class saving tackle, and the rest of the time he got his team in trouble. I don't know if it was so they could play out from the back a bit more solidly. Perhaps that was the intention. Whatever, it was a square peg in a round hole, as we've moaned about, and it dropped them in it, so it didn't work.
There we go. Man United, we touched on this earlier. We've got to say thank you, Man United, for keeping Everton down there. Is it another false dawn? I mean, look, we said with Rude when he took over Man United, he suddenly got a tune out of the players. Now, Amarin's come in. All right, he got a point against the battle in Ipswich. Maybe this would have been expected, even if it was Eric Ten Hag in charge, because you're paying a pretty poor, let's be honest with you, Everton when they're not at home. Was this sort of just a day out, across the M62 for Man United?
Well, it's interesting because it's a bit of a false result in some ways, Chris. Because when I was watching it, Everton for the first 20 minutes were the better team. They were. Yeah. But there's only so much Everton can do. And then when they started making mistakes to make things harder for themselves, what happened? Manchester United took advantage. It was all Amad Diallo, honestly. I think the rest of them, they lined up in the shape that Amarin wants, and they were sort of 5s and 6s out of 10. Diallo busted a gut to try and press more than any other player, to win the ball back more than any other player. 2 or 3 of the goals were entirely because of him. So I think there should be credit there because he's showed a good account of himself. But it is still very early, isn't it? He's only been in the job about a week. So it's going to take some time for them to get used to him. But it wasn't a 4-0 performance in the slightest. And Everton, the problem is when you're 1 or 2-0 down, you then got to open up more avenue, which they had to do. So they got caught out, but they didn't help themselves. They probably should have been 0-0 at half time, and they weren't. So,
and he has got Rashford scoring again.
Yeah, and it's funny with Marcus Rashford, isn't it? Because a few years ago, he was probably one of the most highest prospects we could have in England for being a goal scoring forward. And I think a lot of Rashford's problem is that he's had the good trained out of him, and the good in him was his natural instinctive ability. And he's almost been overtrained. People have tried to do this with him, put him on the left or the right, do this and do that. So I think it's encouraging for Man United to see him leading the line and looking like that's what they want from him. I think that is the best way to get a tune out of him. Otherwise, you're going to have to write him off, because there is Dele Alli vibes about just how his career is going, and you think, there needs to be someone to grab the reins, and I think Amarin's going to do that. So yeah, it looks better than what it was, but it's still good, isn't it?
Still good, like you say. Chelsea Villa. Look, we all laughed, didn't we, and said, "Oh, he'll be out by Christmas." And I was joking and saying, "I hope Enzo's got good panto booking that he pays wages for him till the new year." Look, they're up into third. He claims they're not in a title race. I honestly think when he played us, it was almost like he was being kind to his ex-team. But look, Villa, we know they were top of the conference Champions League table a couple of weeks ago. 2-0 at half-time, demolished really. Carl Palmer popping up as he always does. Enzo's, the other Enzo, doesn't do bad. And Nicholas Jackson. I mean, what a side they've got. If they could get rid of some of their players that they don't need, because they've got loads, haven't they? Let's be honest with you, more than they need. But I have to say, and all credit to Enzo, he's gone in there and he's doing a damn good job.
Oh, he's got them up to speed really quickly. Because similar to Leicester, though, Chris. Oh, I've lost you there, mate. Sorry, Chris, I lost you there. I'm back now. Similar to when he was he's got them off to a really quick running speed of what he wants, and they're doing it. It was interesting because Caicedo started at right back in this game for the first time, which I wondered if he would switch to, knowing what he'd done at Leicester before with Ricardo. So now he's got Caicedo in there. It means he's now managed to shoehorn Enzo Fernandez into the team as well, and that made a big difference in this game. It was huge. And Villa, they've really kind of hit a plateau now. I mean, they had a couple of chances, but they look to me like a team that just needs to add a little bit of flash or pizzazz now. If they could add just someone in January who's got someone just to bring some excitement out of the team, because Watkins is good, but he's not quite doing it enough, regularly enough for them to inspire that energy. So they just look a bit flat. They let Chelsea play their game too much, but then that is one of the things we look at Enzo and go, he's good at. They dominate when they want to, and they dominated this one.
Villa, I know it's not the right claret and blue, but is Villa's bubble bursting?
I think it could be. Emery had this at Arsenal, didn't he? It was a good start, and it kind of reached a point where it didn't really get any better from there. Yeah, and I do wonder, they look a bit like we did under Brendan Rodgers. They're not changing from any systems. They're sticking to the same system, and it's looking very much like they're starting to run out of ideas. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's a resurgence coming, but I don't know, Chris. I'm on your side here. I think they might have peaked.
Yes, next up, we have Forest Ipswich. I never thought I would say this, but thank you, Nottingham Forest. Chris Wood finding the net again.
Yeah.
Have a bit of wood on Saturday afternoons, isn't it?
It works in Nottingham. I bet Nottingham must be one of the most highest active places for this right now, Chris. They're having a great time as a city, aren't they? I mean, Notts County are back in the Football League as well for a couple of years now, so things are looking up for Nottingham. But yeah, no, it was a typical Forest performance. I mean, if you think about it, though, credit to Ipswich, it was only a penalty they gave away, which cost them a point in this game. And if you think Ipswich's main Achilles heel was their naivety in their defence, they seem every week to be getting a bit better at it, which is something that couldn't be said for a lot of teams down the bottom. You think they're either staying the same or getting slightly worse. But Ipswich very much seem to be, moving forward. So I don't, once again, I'm coming out of an Ipswich game going, I don't think they've got anything to worry about at all. I think they'll still keep marching, in the positive direction. And Forest, against teams like Ipswich, you're going to have to win games in this way, aren't you? And this is perhaps what they lacked in the last few weeks. And this week they did it. So well done to Forest. Once again, a nice, decent home win.
It is. I mean, it was a bit of a Brexit match when it came to possession. 48 Forest, 55 Ipswich. Shots 5-3 on target, 12-7 just general. Yep. So, but again, I know what you're saying about Ipswich, and again, this takes me back to the Great Escape year for Leicester. Oh, we played well, we didn't deserve to lose, but we were. And they've got to look at some of these games, Ipswich, and they've got to start turning them into wins, haven't they?
Yeah, that's it. Because you're always against the clock. That's entirely right, Chris. You know, you can be as good as you want and, you know, have a great foundational system and be a good manager, you know, but you still got KPIs you got to hit. You know, you still got targets you got to hit. The target Ipswich have really got to try and hit is staying in the Premier League, because that is a huge milestone for this club. If they could do that for one season, from there, then they can dream like Nottingham Forest, because they've got everything in place to be a club of that size. But no, I mean, ultimately, I want to believe in the dream. If I was an Ipswich fan right now, I'd feel very similar to how we felt under Pearson at Leicester. I'd feel there's nothing for us to worry about. Our manager's probably one of the safest in the league, ironically.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, he is. I mean, if they go down, he's not going to
stick with
go.
him. Yeah.
You know. Last game, and Tottenham being Tottenham, win, lose, draw. We'll do one week, one the next, one the week after. I suppose on current form, this was to be expected.
Yeah, I suppose. I'm a bit annoyed at myself because I gave Spurs the benefit of the doubt on this one and just edged them for a 3-2 win. And I thought to myself, I thought to myself in the back of my head, I bet Fulham will nick a draw from this. And look what happened. Yeah, and actually Fulham were the better team. You know, so I think that sums it up. I mean, Spurs now have failed to win in back-to-back games in 8 attempts, which is as Spursy as you can probably get right as a football team if you can't win back-to-back games, if you're perceivably a top 6 side, because you're gonna have to do it, you know, at some point in the season. You know, they sort of they're just about keeping their heads out of trouble. And I think Ange, like I say, I like him as a manager. But I do look at the personnel and I go, Bournemouth's personnel seem a lot more equipped at carrying out what they want. Whereas Tottenham's don't seem to be doing it, because if they did, they'd be in the top 4 now. Because I think they got quality, Chris. I really do. I look at their team and I go, I think they got, you know, top 4 quality players in there. So it's a bizarre
finish. I had them finishing top 5. I think, you know, this season would go on. I mean, you go from absolutely destroying Man City to struggling against Fulham, but that we always say that's Spurs for you.
It's funny because they almost sit together, Chris, on their own, don't they? It's almost like when they're the small club, they'll fight against the big club. When they're the big club, they don't fight, and the small club has them.
True. No, that's very, very true. Yeah. Now, interestingly, and last week when we did the predictions, you didn't do so well last week. Shall we say that? 1 point from a possible 30. You did better this week. I'll say you did better. You didn't disgrace yourself this week. In fact, I can give you the score. Well, I started off very, very well because I went 1-1 Brighton Southampton.
Yeah, which is a good shout. Very good shout that was, Chris. Yeah.
I thought, hello, I'm in here. And it all went downhill very quickly. I have to say. Only saved me by the Sunday, if I'm honest with you. Dave only had 1 point up to end of play Saturday, but then got 2 scores spot on. 4-0 on Man United and this game, Tottenham Fulham.
Oh my word.
But he ended up with 8 points. No, he didn't. He actually ended up with 7 points. So I've added 1 on. He ended up with 7. Exactly the same as Brad, who got 1 right, which was the Palace Newcastle. Exactly the same as me, who only got 1 right, and you got 6. So you were there. You were there.
I was there. You know. I'm annoyed at myself as well because I thought about, you know, but you all do it, don't you? You think about what's, and then you go, but I was going to go for that. There was a lot of that this week.
Yeah. If we had we were going to go for that table, we'd all be top of it, wouldn't we?
Oh, hindsight was a real thing, mate. I'd have a mansion now based off football betting, right?
Yeah. Mind you, I couldn't afford all the beans to pour in my eyes. Anyway, let's move on quickly. Yes. There's the table. Again, look, I'm getting worried. We're in 16th, and look, we only need to finish 17th. But look at the teams below us. You know, at one point we were 4 or 5 points clear of the bottom 3. Now we're only 1. You know, this in a way. Do you think if we were playing Chelsea tomorrow or Man City, there'd be less pressure on Rude, so it might be a better start because you've said it. Really, this is one we have to look at and go. Yeah, we could potentially win this one.
The problem is, it's a game in a really awkward time, isn't it? And it's snuck in here, and it's a game which probably is bigger than what it's hidden
Yeah.
away on a Tuesday night sort of status gives it. And like you say, the worry is when you look at that table, you look at the 4 teams behind us, and I go, well, Palace probably should have won this weekend. Wolves
Yeah.
didn't help themselves, but they still scored 2 goals. We didn't score 2 goals.
Yeah.
Ipswich only lost 1-0 by a penalty and played very well. Southampton got a point, and they actually showed a lot of fight, and they're sticking to their guns, and maybe in a minute they'll get a couple of wins in a row. So yeah, that is the major worry. You're right. So I think it is. Let's hype it, mate. Tomorrow's a big game. It is a big game. For us. It's a cup game. We've got to go out and try and just win it, irrelevant of what the performance is. But hopefully the performance is better.
Indeed. Okay, so before we go on to I've got to say, before we come on to your awards, 2 things I want to do. First of all, I was absolutely fuming. I mean, not fuming. I mean, I was annoyed at our performance, but we were this honestly, Alan Shearer, I think, should hang his head in utter and total shame. How could he not put any Leicester players in the team of the week?
I will say one thing there, and that is that he's rightly not putting Newcastle's in there either, has he?
No. I looked at that, and I've got like, what the fuck? No bloody Leicester players. I mean,
oh my god, I know, right, mate? They're against us, mate. It's a conspiracy. It's like Donald Trump. It's fake news. It's
always
fake
picking on
news.
the little old Leicester. Yeah, I mean, if they had a team of the donkeys of the week, that'd be 11 or 11 turds of the week. They'd have a Leicester player and the dog. It was the FA Cup third round draw. Just to quickly run through these with the Premier League clubs. Southampton are at home to Swansea. Arsenal are hosting Manchester United.
Oh, brilliant. Wow. That's good.
I wonder what game's going to be on TV. I get a feeling it might be that one. Right. Another Premier League. Aston Villa, West Ham.
Yeah.
Norwich have got a tough... They're hosting Brighton. I should say Brighton have got a tough away game at Norwich.
Yeah,
this will be great. Salford City away at Manchester City.
No way, really? Yeah. That is superb. That is brilliant. The only time Salford City are going to be liked, isn't it?
Yes. I've got to say, though, it's a Manchester derby, isn't it?
It is. It's almost like a classic Man United side versus modern-day Man City one, isn't it? Yeah, that's a shock. Who did Exeter City get out of interest?
Oxford United.
Oh, that's a good. That's a good game for Exeter. That because obviously it's funny. I live near Exeter, and also I used to live in Oxford, so that's bizarre. Yeah, interesting.
You'll have a half and half scarf.
Oh no! I can't afford the prices of those things nowadays.
I've got a load of half and half scarves, but in my defence, it was only for the Champions League,
which I completely think is acceptable. Yes, I think that's okay. I'll give you that. I've got all the newspapers the day we won the Premier League, so I've got them all cut out. I don't have every newspaper every week, do I?
No. I was. As you know, I'd got rid of my season ticket a few seasons before, but somebody had lent me theirs, if you like, unofficially. Not lent. Sorry, no. I bought another season ticket just in case anybody's looking for the club, and we went up to see all the Champions League games because he couldn't. Funny enough, I think he was working down in Devon. I think it might have been as a chef, and in fact, I think he kept the tickets because he didn't want to give them up. But anyway, I ended up with the Champions League tickets because he said I can't go to night games or anything like that. So I bought half and half scarves, and I'll totally say that was okay for that.
Mate, it's taken me an hour and 22 minutes to realise you're wearing a Toronto FC.
Thank you. I was going to come off at the end of the show. There you go. Look, yes.
Did you sneak that on when I wasn't looking for 2 minutes? Because I think the blue misled my eyes into going, it must be an old Leicester away kit.
Great. No. I you know Melina, the Arsenal fan.
Yeah.
This was because the background on here, you probably can't see it, but it's like a speckled design.
Yeah.
And Leicester, do you remember we had that? We had a blue shirt that had like a lighter blue speckled in it. So it was like that.
That's why I didn't notice it. I saw the BMO when you sat up, and I went, "That's Toronto."
Yes, and this was in the sale. And she very kindly, I sent her the money, she bought it and posted it over to me. But I was going to leave it till the end. Oh, damn, you found it. You discovered it.
No, I just spotted it. I recognise that. I've been there for their game with Spurs. It was fascinating.
I swapped it when you weren't looking, mate. I went like, Edge. Magic, I'm a magician.
Magic. You are,
Wolverhampton Wanderers away to Bristol City. Chelsea are hosting Morecambe. Bournemouth are hosting West Bromwich Albion. Tottenham are away to Tamworth, so well done, Tamworth. You'll go through. Obviously, Leicester are hosting Queen's Park Rangers. Newcastle United have got Bromley. Leeds have got Harrogate Town, so a Yorkshire derby there. Forest have got Luton.
Good. They're good finishers, aren't they?
Yeah, Ipswich have got Bristol Rovers and Palace. Fulham Watford, again, that's a local derby. And Palace have got Stockport.
I think we've got the most boring game of the lot, QPR, because they're not doing a lot. We're not doing a lot, and it'll probably be 0-0.
Well, to be honest with you, if we get knocked out, we get knocked out. I don't mind because I want to obviously. There's others fish to fry, as they say. Look,
agreed.
We've got Toms T.I.T.A.S.S Awards coming up.
I love your choice of words, mate. I'm glad it's your channel and not mine. I'll put it that way.
No, we get away with it. Can I just say, I love the fact that I sent it through, and it was about 2 hours later, you messaged me and went, "You've just called this the Tit Award. I've just noticed."
Takes me about an hour and a half to notice anything by accounts, Chris, we worked out tonight. So
there you go. Tom, I think you used this word. Somebody was going to make an impact. Tom's Impactful Trophy, which just happens to be an acronym of TIT. Who is going to be your first recipient of your Impactful Trophy, sir?
Thank you very much, Chris. Well, firstly, let me explain the notion of this so people get the idea, because there's awards given out every week. This is an award for someone I think that deserves credit from one week to the next. So last week we gave it to Top for sacking our manager, because we felt it was the right decision generally between Leicester fans. So this week I've got some nominations, and also I have the trophy itself, which is a bit of a relic. Some say it was found under a shelf at a Poundland in Walsall. Some say it's still scanned at the checkout for £1, which was even more remarkable. But here it is, the Impactful Trophy. And our nominees this week, Chris. So, number one, Enzo Maresca for Chelsea and what's been going on there. Impact, positive impact. This week, they really, I think, confirmed exactly what they are doing. And once again, superb job. I think Enzo deserves a lot of credit, so he's up for the nomination. We also have Justin Kluivert, who, of course, set a record this weekend. It was 3 penalty hat-tricks, which lifted Bournemouth to a great away win for them as well. All the penalties were different. They were superb. First time in 67 years makes it more special. Please heed note the Toronto Maple Leafs and the England football team when I say that as well, when it's been 67 years. Amad Diallo would be our third nomination as well for Manchester United, because the result looked very good, Chris. It was 4-0. But actually, he was the man that made it all happen, because he actually worked his way through the game. And he was the one for Man United who went, I want to be in this team. I want to be on this team sheet, and did a great job. So there are nominations. Who would you go for out of interest, Chris, out of those 3?
So you've got, I probably wouldn't go for the Man United one.
Okay.
I would probably go for Kluivert.
That's interesting.
I think for me, obviously, when you've got a name like Kluivert, a lot is expected of you.
Yes.
A bit like, if you're a goalkeeper called Schmeichel, you've got a lot to live up to. Yes. And it can be very embarrassing. I know I'm not going to say that he's going to ever be as good as his dad. Who knows? I hope for his sake he is. And,
Absolutely.
Well done, for getting him in. But to score 3, I don't think Harry Kane's got a hat-trick of penalties, has he? So
it's harder than it looks, isn't it?
Yeah, well, like you say, the goalkeepers these days, well, look at, who is it at Everton? He's got it all written on his drinks thing, hasn't he? So, and to do it, was it sort of left, right, left, or right? It was one of those, or did it go one down the better.
No, he basically made the keeper move every time. He walked up to it, and then the keeper moved, and he put it in whatever side was free. He was the most calmest guy on the pitch, and to do it
It
3
would have
times
been
in a row.
better if he'd gone one side, the other side, down the middle, or did the Panenka.
I tell you what, if he Panenka it, that would have really topped off Jose Sar's day, because he had a dreadful day for Wolves.
Yeah.
Poor bloke. But Chris, I completely agree with you. So the first award winner of the week goes to Justin Climate.
Well
Great
done,
week.
sir. Well done. And we agree, which is something.
Agreed.
You know.
And we'll have 3 more nominations next week after this week of games, and we'll see who can take a step up this week and make a positive impact in the Premier League.
Well, we're not looking, obviously, we're not going to be doing a review of midweek games. I just haven't got any time to fit the shows in. But I would say hi to Ray, Toronto, go Toronto FC.
Yeah, cheers, Ray.
Well,
I've got the soul of a Canadian, so, I'm with you, mate.
Look, we've seen your tits. Let's see your ass, shall we? I have so much fun with this over the weeks, Now, you said that this looked very phallic.
A little bit.
I have to say, is that must be pre-Viagra then, because it's coming down. And the idea was that I was looking for a building collapsing, and then I thought, well, actually, that, maybe it's not always in the best possible taste sort of thing. So I thought, Chimp, do you remember Fred Dibner?
I do indeed. I was going to say, actually, I think of all the choices you could make in that circumstance, the Fred Dibner one's probably the best choice.
Yes, it is. And then you came round and said, oh, it looks like a cock.
I said it looks a little bit challenging, perhaps. I said it's going to create questions. I mean, ultimately, mate, it's the tone we want.
Exactly. If that's a cock, your balls are on fire. That's all I'm saying.
We've got to be careful. There's things going on again at the BBC this week which are causing problems. I'm glad it's just me and you on there and there's no one else here today.
Exactly. But look, the idea was the donkey there with your ass of the week.
No nominations for this. I know who it is.
I was getting ready for a nomination. Right, well, go for it then.
I think Ass of the Week, there's no nominations. I think Ass of the Week is the person who was the worst. And it was a weekend where goalkeepers were changed for a few teams. I've said it and hinted at it all night. Ass of the Week, Jose Sarr of Wolves. He had an awful game in goal. He was terrible. He was at fault for the majority of the goals that they conceded to Bournemouth. He was terrible, honestly. I mean, hopefully he'll see this Ass of the Week award, see that and go, this is serious now. Next week I've got to turn up and put in a performance. Or perhaps Wolves need to do what Tottenham did and swap the keeper, maybe. And Southampton did it as well. So
yes.
So he's unfortunately lost.
We will see. Tom, mate, thank you I love this show. Thank you so very, very much. And I think we got it about right. The Leicester game is the main one, always will be. We're a Leicester channel, and then another big game after that, and then a couple of video games, which is very nice. And do please go out and check Eagle-Eyed Football and Rich, the Crystal Palace fan, as I like to call him, Lionel. And Brighton Rock Pod if you are into podcasts, who talks Brighton, and it's coming on Friday at 7:00 when we are doing the preview. Tomorrow night we've got the live match. We're playing West Ham. We are live from 7:30 with the watch along. Wednesday I've got a night off. I'm actually going out. Where
are you off to? Wetherspoons?
Well, funny you should say that. Yes, but there's not wrong with the Wetherspoons. Don't you?
I saw the class of a Sandro Tonali in you, my friend. So
Oh, dear. But after that, we will be. I will be going off to see Marty Wilde.
Oh, okay, cool.
Who you probably never heard of.
No, I was trying to pretend I did, but I must be honest, I found it really badly.
You did. He had a number 2 hit in 1959.
Oh, wow.
And he's still going, bless him.
Oh, that's amazing. No, dude, that's really cool. Hey, music is what it is. It's funny because my musical taste has definitely sort of shifted as I got older. I now put Frank Sinatra on and be a bit pretentious sometimes. So, it gets us all.
My daughter's 25, and when I went over, the music that she likes is complete. She loves Frank Sinatra. Although, I'm going to say, one of my favourite all-time tracks ever in the world, That's Life.
Yeah, it is. Because That's Life is actually a good mental health song, I think, for people as well.
It is indeed.
That's the power of music.
Tomorrow, talking of music, interestingly, breakfast show tomorrow, 7 till 10, surreyhillsradio.co.uk. Click on Listen Live. Great DJ that does the breakfast show. But after that, I am actually not live, but I'm pre-recording an interview with, do you remember The Real Thing?
No, I don't. The Real Thing.
I'll get you to love you. I need you every day. You remember making me sing now, aren't you?
Chris, I probably do, but it's probably just,
Yeah. I mean, I get Marty Wilde because that was 59, but this was 1976.
Okay, so only the 9 years before I was born or whatever. Yeah. Sorry, Chris. I know I look old, guys. I've lived a heavy life. I mean, come on. I've weathered Canadian winters a couple of times.
And at this point, I was going to say, look, I'm wearing a Toronto shirt for you, and you'd spotted it.
To be fair, it took me a long time to spot it, though, didn't it? I just completely trusted into the fact it must be a Leicester one that I didn't quite recognise. But yeah, mate, great choice. Great choice of the second team, TFC.
I don't mind a bit of... to be honest with you, I think you've got to have another team in every country.
I don't think that's a bad idea. No. I like a team of different countries. That is true.
Yeah.
You know, and obviously in different sports you can do whatever, right? You know, I mean, you know, I mean, there's no, with Leicester and ice hockey, it's different. You know, so
we've got here Enzo Tom, the clear out using younger players. They play. He went for Enzo for the.
And I don't disagree with it. Don't disagree with it at all. I think all of them could have won.
Well, yes, indeed. Wayne, cheers, guys. Great show. Listening to my tax return and fantasy football. Wayne,
you read that as listening doing my dodgy tax return. I saw doing as dodgy. Sorry,
Wayne. I've asked you twice. Is your internet okay for tomorrow night, Wayne? Message me and let me know because his internet was playing up, but. Hopefully, Wayne will be there with us post-match. Mate, thank you so very, very much. Like I say, no review of the midweek games, but we'll be doing this all again next week, and you'll have a new T.I.T.A.S.
I will indeed, mate. And like I say, I'll tie in some things for the midweek games into the weekend and next show as well. But thanks, everyone, for being here. Really appreciate it. I'm going to head off and run now.
Go and enjoy yourself. Take care, buddy. All the best. Thanks so much. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks so much to Tom there. Appreciate everything he does. It's a great show, this. It's nice to talk about something other than Leicester. especially at the moment. Like I say, 7 o'clock tomorrow. Sorry, 7:30 tomorrow. But it is a 8:15 kickoff. So 7:30 tomorrow, we'll be doing the preview. Rude's first team. How will it be? That's the question. So thank you very, very much. See you then. Please share the video, like the video, and if you're new, subscribe. And if you want to become a member, it's only $1.99 a month. Can't even get half a pint for that. Take care, guys. Have a good rest of the evening. I'm off to watch I'm a Celebrity. Take care. Good night.
Thanks for watching. These videos are tremendous. You better like them too, or I'll be back.
This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
That will conclude this evening's entertainment.